100 Small Rebellions, Part 1, Eishar Kaur. Go and make some cha, my mother said. The order to make tea for our guests came at the end of a stressful day for 14-year-old me. Exams were fast approaching, I'd had a fight with my best friend, and I'd left my purse on the bus. Combined with a hefty dose of teenage hormones and a simmering resentment, it was enough to push me over the edge. You make it. I will never forget the argument that followed after our guests left. My parents were adamant that I'd embarrassed them by committing the cardinal sin of answering back. I raged about how I was always being asked to do chores while my brother got off lightly. An exaggeration, but I was a teenager and I was furious. Recently, 10 years later, I asked my parents if they thought they treated my brother and me differently as we were growing up. They requested an example. Well, I was asked to make the tea and, chores and stuff. You don't make tea. Your brother always makes it, said laughingly, but it was the truth. They weren't wrong, but I wonder now if they realized that this was my own form of rebellion, which began with that single refusal and slowly escalated over the years, until it became normal for my brother to cater to guests. Ever the peacekeeper, he embraces making the tea to this day. They often feel selfish, but in the intensely patriarchal Punjabi culture, it's the seemingly trivial acts that keep girls in the diaspora sane. Balancing Western life with your culture requires 100 small rebellions. The incremental progression of these rebellions is what led me to feminism. A few years after my first small rebellion, I moved 6 hours away to go to university. At the time, it was the biggest upheaval I'd caused in my family, who held the traditional view that girls should stay at home until marriage. But I felt the need for distance from the rigid cultural expectations I'd spent my teenage years challenging. After several battles and a trip to the campus that persuaded my parents it was the best academic option for me, I went, and there I learned about feminism. By that I mean I read the Western feminist canon included in my syllabus: Germaine Greer, Simone de Beauvoir, Andrea Dworkin, all considered necessary to any feminist education, and all white. I came home with bite-sized quotes tripping off my tongue in response to any situation I perceived to be oppressive. I came home arrogant. My culture chafed against my newfound knowledge, and I found it harder to accept that certain things remained as they always had been. As I argued against my culture, I began to pick holes in my own understanding of feminism. I found myself relating to cultural concepts that weren't covered by the theories I'd learned. For example, the complex ethics of arranged marriages, and uncovering issues that weren't even acknowledged by white feminism, such as cultural appropriation. Eventually, I saw that I was inflicting this theoretical feminism, white feminism, onto my family and onto my culture, and that it was lacking. Even the term itself seemed distant from our daily lives. I hardly know anyone in my circle of Punjabi friends or family who would readily refer to themselves as a feminist. Is that because feminism is inaccessible? A concept far removed from the concerns and realities of the Punjabi diaspora? Or is it because the term is inadequate? Does feminism fail to encompass the challenges specific to our culture? My father and uncles, my brother and my cousins would all be considered progressive by traditional Punjabi norms. Like much of the diaspora, they have broken boundaries and have supported their daughters, wives, mothers, and sisters as they did the same. But by the rules of Western feminism, they would not be considered feminists, even if they wanted to be. The traditional values they uphold and the roles women were assigned seemed outdated, a few steps behind the issues Western feminism is focused on. There are no markers of feminist progress in our short history. We have no reach into the issues of our homeland and can't challenge the patriarchal framework in Punjab. We can only tackle the issues faced by the diaspora. The obstacles faced by daughters trying to change their family's perception of what it means to be a Punjabi woman are numerous, spanning everything from living away from home to dressing less conservatively to dating, especially with no intention of marriage, and sexual orientation. Moreover, the patriarchal nature of our culture prevents open discussion in many families, leading to the normalization of secrecy. At the top of this long list of ways we, the men and women of the diaspora, surely fail according to the standards set by Western feminism is one key, unavoidable point. We are brown, and feminism here is white. Western feminism is white feminism. It is rooted in the concerns of white women, and its parameters are set by said women. British journalist Rennie Edo-Lodge posits that whiteness positions itself as the norm in feminism, and that this becomes a problem when its ideas dominate, presented as the universal to be applied to all women. With this context, it comes as no surprise that feminist is an exclusionary term. It instantly evokes white feminist issues and thereby becomes unrelatable to other cultures. White feminism is excellent at projecting issues onto other cultures as it sees fit, prioritizing the big issues over the day-to-day realities. For example, over the years, there has been a consistent focus on rebuking the system of arranged marriage. But the conversation excludes the South Asian women who exist on a broad spectrum of challenging and supporting this cultural concept. Progress is determined according to the white feminist values imposed on these issues, and judgment passed on the culture accordingly. As much as a large percentage of the Punjabi diaspora rejects the term feminist, feminism in this country rejects us. There is no room for grey areas in white feminism. And the feminism of Punjabi women in the UK resides almost exclusively in this undefined area between Western rebellion and the traditional Punjabi patriarchy. So about the author, Eishar Kaur is a British writer with roots in Punjab. This chapter is an excerpt from Can We All Be Feminists? 17 writers on intersectionality, identity, and finding the right way forward for feminism. The word intersectionality in the book's title is a concept and framework for understanding the examining situations in which discrimination based upon multiple identities is combined, such as the subject of this chapter, sexism and racism. At the time of publication, editor June Eric-Udorie was just 20 years old and a university student, and Eishar Kaur was 25. The word diaspora originally referred to the dispersion of the Jewish people after the Babylonian captivity, but it can also refer to the dispersion or migration of a certain ethnic group to another country or to such immigrants. Here, it refers to the situation of the author's family, who emigrated from the Punjab region to the United Kingdom before her parents. Incidentally, many Indian immigrants living in the UK are from the same region. The author writes, Western feminism is white feminism. So while imagining the author's state of mind when she makes such a bold assertion, let's discuss whether we in modern Japan may feel the same conflict about discrimination against women as the author feels. That is, she's against discrimination against women, but at the same time, she cannot accept Western feminism as it is. There are many ways to express a thought, an idea, a viewpoint, an opinion. There are a variety of expressions a writer can use to express feelings and emotions. Sometimes knowing the reason why one particular word is being used instead of another can give us insight into the writer's mind, while also enabling us to appreciate their writing, their choice in vocabulary, their skills as a writer, their humanity through their written expression. So let's seek to understand Kaur's writing a little bit more by examining the vocabulary she used in the text, 100 Small Rebellions here.